Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank crisis in Sri Lanka. Let's see what is the content of our presentation. Introduction of the company, nature of the scandal, the responsible parties for the crisis, demonstrate the scandal by financial statement, auditor's opinion on financial statements, restructuring, breach of auditor's responsibility, and at last, fundamental principles of auditing. Now, let's see the introduction of the company. PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank is the first private savings bank in Sri Lanka. Mr. Rohan Pereira was the general manager of Ceylon Bank, and after resigning from Ceylon Bank, he started the PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank with the collaboration of some Ceylon Bank directors. Mr. Rohan Pereira and his colleagues applied for license on 1996 to operate a commercial bank from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. In 1997, they got license and they started operations in 21st of July 1997 as a savings bank with the name of PRAMUKA Savings and Development. Now let's move to the other side. They aimed the poor borrowers in the village. With the first 5 years, they reached the peak of their steadily. They had commenced their operations through various sectors such as savings, loan schemes, deposits, credit facilities and other services as well. They had the license to operate only as a savings and development bank. In October 2002, the license of PRAMUKA Savings Bank was suspended. Finally, in 2002, they have winding up the bank due to some issues with it. Now, Charlene will do the rest of the presentation.
PRAMUKA nature of the scandal. PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank was the first private owning savings and development bank. At that time, there was no any framework to guide the private owned savings and development banks. Any act or legislation did provide the direction on how the PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank should do their banking operations. And also, they didn't have a license to operate as a commercial bank. Since 1997, PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank was able to survive for only 5 years. In October 2002, the Monetary Board of Central Bank took action to suspend the license of PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank. Now let's move on to the other slide. And this bank got their withdrawal of license under the Banking Act number 30 of 1988. After conducting some investigations, the Director of Bank Supervision of Central Bank ordered to winding up PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank in December 2002 under the Monetary Act number 58 of 1949. This was the very first incident that a Sri Lankan bank was liquidated. And this crisis was highly affected to the economy, banking sector, financial sector, and also to the general public. Now, Chetan, continue the presentation.
Let's discuss the reason behind the failure of PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank. Followings are the reason behind the collapse of PRAMUKA Savings Bank. Lack of parate execution rights, window dressing in accounting, high non-performing ratio in excess of 75%, negative net worth of 230 million as at 30th September 2002, inability to maintain minimum statutory liquid asset ratio of 20, unsound, improper and imprudent practices and mismanagement of affairs. Next, move on to the other slide. The first reason is lack of parate execution rights. Lack of parate execution right of the board of directors was the main problem faced by the PRAMUKA Bank. According to the recovery of loans by bank, a special provision Act number 4 of 1990, the Parata execution is limited to the property mortgaged by the borrower and excludes property owned and mortgaged by a guarantor. In Pramukha Savings and Development Bank, the board of directors didn't have a right to execute mortgage property by passing a special resolution at a board meeting when loans are being defaulted by the customers. At that time, SriLanka Savings and Development Banks entered into the financial sector with proper parity execution rights, highlighted the weaknesses of the Pramukha Savings Bank. Next, move on to the other reason. The second reason is window dressing in accounting. Window dressing is a practice of making the financial statements of a business look more attractive to external parties. So, PRAMUKA Bank has remodeled the operation loss of 16.5 million into a profit of 8.3 million. In here, they have broken the prudent concept. The third reason is unsound decision making. PRAMUKA Savings Bank had credited their employee contribution of EPF to an unapproved fund that has invested it back in the PRAMUKA Bank itself. According to the Labour Law Act, it was a serious violation because they can't maintain a separate EPF account for their own. Rest of the presentation will continue by Vihanga.
Fourth reason is mismanagement of affairs. According to the opinion of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the PRAMUKA Bank didn't have a proper policy on their investment and didn't have a balance on the investment. Other one is the chairman of PRAMUKA Saving Bank, Mr. Rohan Pereira, had made arbitrary decisions on investment in equity. He did what he wanted, and the board of directors blindly accept them. As an example, he has taken the decisions to 13.9 from their capital in Pan-Asia Bank Corporation. It is completely against the investment policy of Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Other example is apart from the apart from that had given 2 million loan for late member of parliament Gamini Atukarala against the property mortgage by the accepting more risk than the premium income of the income limited allowed. Fifth reason is unsound, improper, and imprudent practices. The PRAMUKA saving banks failed to meet the deadline for submitting their audit accounts to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Even they didn't give any excuses or didn't ask any extension for submission date. And other one is they did not have a proper grading system with them, so they are unable to monitor their customer closely. Other one is bank had covered 18% of asset portfolio from non-performing loans. Those are the main reasons behind the collapse of PRAMUKA Savings Bank, PRAMUKA Savings Development Bank. Next slide will continue by me.
Parties for the crisis. There are several responsible parties for this crisis. First one is management of PRAMUKA Saving and Development Bank. They were able to avoid the situation by appointing board of directors with good technical knowledge and experience in financial sector, maintaining a good balance with independent and non-executive directors, appointing from formal audit committee, and holding annual general meetings with providing annual reports. Second responsible party for this crisis is Central Bank. Central Bank of Sri Lanka is the institution which has the responsibility towards the stability of the financial system of Sri Lanka. Banks play a major role in the financial system, and their failure may lead to a financial crisis of the economy. Therefore, corporate governance was introduced to banking sector by the central bank as the voluntary code of corporate governance in 2002. Central Bank had not approved the license to PRAMUKA Bank to operate as a saving and development bank. One of the main reasons for the collapse is lack of effective intervention until financial institutions collapse. Uh, Third party for the crisis is KPMG. KPMG International Limited is the leading multinational professional service network which was founded in 1987. Employees of PRAMUKA Bank were complained KPMG for ensuring genuine and unfair accounts when massive accounts fraud occur. Particularly, they concerned about the illegal employee provident fund. The Association of PRAMUKA stakeholders said that the audited accounts of PRAMUKA Bank did not reflect a true and fair view. The audit report raised several issues regarding revenue identification of KPMG, which was violation of SLAS 23. Rest of the presentation will continue by Prasakti.
Now I discuss to demonstrate the scandal by the financial statement. In October 2002, PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank had bad debts of 2.2 billion rupees. Now, non-performing advantage stood at 1.27 billion rupees. The amount of interest recognized as the revenue on these facilities amount to 93.6 million. PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank stood the loss 419.7 million result in negative net worth position of assets amount of 230.6 million as at 30th September 2002. The NPA ratio, which was initially 25%, had arisen to 50%. When referring the cash flow statement, PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank had failed a maintain a minimum station liquid for 20%. Now I move on to the next slide. Auditor's opinion on financial statement. KPMG, the auditors of PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank, has said in statement that the bank's last audit account for the year ended 31st of March 2001 were issued on 30th of August 2001. The fact was the auditor's report pertained to the account for the year ended 31st of March 2002 has not been released. The details of the audit could not be disclosed to the public due to the confidential reasons. PRAMUKA Savings Development Bank was not public limited company, so there was no scope to the public financial reports. That as the 31st of March 2001, KPMG had been able to uncover extensive information of the parties' transaction, including the PRAMUKA Merchant Corporation. Now I invite to Chaitanya to continue this presentation.
After the collapse of PRAMUKA Savings and Development Bank, the central bank decided to restructure it. So, PRAMUKA Savings and Development PRAMUKA Bank Restructuring Committee had proposed to convert 15% of the deposits into share capital or debentures, thereby improving the capital adequacy status. A proposal made by Asia Capital Limited to restructuring PRAMUKA Bank has been proposed to convert 50% of large deposits into equity capital at a premium of 5 rupees. They decided to write off part of borrowings, and also they focused on employee provident fund drafted for its own shares, and unsecured debentures also qualified for the controversial investments. Rest of the presentation will continue by Sanduni.
Now let's see how auditors breach their responsibility. So PRAMUKA Bank began to collapse in 2002 and the bank supervision unit in central bank decided to close it down because of improper practices and mismanagement happened within the bank. So KPMG audit firm act as the external auditors of the PRAMUKA Bank.
So it is not enough to just get a mere certificate from the auditors that financial statements are true and fair. As auditors, they need to look at every single fact to prevent fraud, mismanagement, and improper practices which happen in the PRAMUKA bank. If the auditors can't take necessary action and inform authorized parties about the improper practices, mismanagement which happen within the bank, there is no point of doing auditing, wasting time, money, and much of effort. So the CA Code of Ethics has introduced 5 fundamental principles to auditors to follow. But in this situation, KPMG auditors has also not fulfilled those principles as well. So in PRAMUKA Bank crisis, the auditors breach their responsibilities, not act according to the above principle. But they had a responsibility to advise their client to follow the financial institution guidelines and show real financial situation. The only thing they did was they stay silent and let the PRAMUKA bank to collapse is down. If the auditors act in responsible way, the million of money of poor depositors also be saved and the bank will be active up to date. So the rest of presentation will continue by Gayan.
Fundamental principles of audit. Integrity. To be straightforward and honest in all professional and the business relationships. Objectivity. To not allow bias, conflict of interest, or undue influence of other to override professional or business judgments. Professional competence of due care. To maintain professional knowledge and skill at the level required to ensure that the client and employee receives competent professional service based on current developments in practice, legislation and techniques, and act diligently and the accordance with applicable techniques and the professional standards. Let's move to the next slide. Confidentiality. To respect the confidentiality of the information acquired as a result of professional and business relationships, and therefore not disclose any such information to third parties without proper and specific authority, unless there is a legal or professional right or duty to disclose or use the information for the personal advantage of the professional accountant or third parties. Professional behavior. To comply with relevant laws and regulations and avoid any conduct that discredits the profession. In the end, PRAMUKA Bank collapsed due to the failure of the central bank, the mistakes of auditors, and management problems. Thank you. Stay safe.